Imagine hearing a strange noise in your house at night. You brush it off, thinking it's nothing. But what if ignoring it was the worst decision you ever made? Emma had always dreamed of owning a quaint house in the suburbs. When she stumbled upon a charming two-story cottage nestled at the end of Maple Street, it felt like fate. The previous owner, an elderly woman named Mrs. Whitaker, had passed away, leaving the house vacant for over a year. Despite its slightly aged appearance, the house exuded warmth and character. After finalizing the purchase, Emma spent her days unpacking boxes, arranging furniture, and adding personal touches to make the house feel like home. By evening, exhaustion would set in, and she'd retire to bed, lulled by the soft hum of the ceiling fan. On her third night, as she was drifting into sleep, a faint scratching sound echoed from downstairs. She sat up, heart pounding. "Probably just the house settling," she whispered, recalling her father's words about old homes making noises. Convincing herself it was nothing, she lay back down. Minutes later, the scratching resumed, louder this time, followed by a soft thud. Emma's breath caught in her throat. She grabbed her phone, illuminating the room with its glow, and tiptoed to the bedroom door. Peering into the hallway, she saw nothing but darkness. Summoning her courage, she descended the stairs, each step creaking under her weight. In the living room, moonlight streamed through the windows, casting eerie shadows. Suddenly, a cold draft brushed past her, and the front door creaked open slightly. Emma's eyes widened. She was certain she'd locked it. She approached cautiously, pushing it shut and securing the deadbolt. As she turned around, a whisper echoed through the room. "Leave now." You think a whisper in the dark is just your imagination, until it calls your name. Emma stood frozen in her living room, the chilling whisper still echoing in her ears. "Leave now." Her heart pounded as she scanned the room, but nothing seemed out of place. The door was securely locked, the windows closed. She tried to rationalize the voice. Perhaps it was the wind or her mind playing tricks on her. Determined not to let fear consume her, Emma returned to bed, convincing herself it was just the stress of moving into a new home. However, sleep eluded her. Every creak of the house, every rustle of the wind outside kept her on edge. The next morning, Emma decided to investigate the history of the house. A trip to the local library revealed that the previous owner, Mrs. Whitaker, had lived there for over 50 years. Locals described her as reclusive, with rumors suggesting she dabbled in the occult. Some even claimed they saw strange lights emanating from the house late at night. Disturbed but not deterred, Emma returned home. That evening, as darkness enveloped the neighborhood, the strange noises resumed. This time, they were more pronounced, footsteps echoing in the hallway, faint whispers that seemed to come from the walls. Gathering her courage, Emma followed the sounds to the basement door. It was ajar, though she was certain she had closed it earlier. Descending the creaky stairs, she was met with an icy draft. The basement was cluttered with old furniture and boxes, but one item caught her attention, a large, ornate mirror covered with a dusty cloth. Pulling the cloth away, Emma stared into the mirror. For a moment, her reflection seemed off. The figure mimicked her movements, but there was a delay, a hesitation. Suddenly, the reflection smiled, a sinister grin that didn't match Emma's expression. Terrified, she stumbled back, knocking over a box. Among its contents, she found a journal belonging to Mrs. Whitaker. Flipping through its pages, Emma discovered entries detailing rituals, summoning spirits, and attempts to communicate with the other side. One entry stood out. "The mirror is the gateway. Through it, they speak. They warn, they threaten, but they cannot harm unless invited." Realizing the gravity of her situation, Emma decided to leave the house. As she turned to ascend the stairs, the basement door slammed shut. The whispers grew louder, more aggressive. Trapped and desperate, Emma remembered the journal's advice. The entities couldn't harm unless invited. She hadn't invited anything, had she? Suddenly, a voice, clearer than before, whispered, "You looked into the mirror." That was enough. Emma thought the whispers were the worst of it, but the true horror was yet to come. Emma stood frozen in the basement, the chilling whisper still echoing in her ears. "You looked into the mirror." That was enough. Her heart pounded as she tried to process the implications of the message. The mirror, the journal, The whispers, it all pointed to something far more sinister than she had anticipated. Determined to understand what she was dealing with, Emma delved deeper into Mrs. Whitaker's journal. The entries became increasingly erratic, filled with descriptions of rituals, symbols, and references to an entity referred to only as the Watcher. According to the journal, the Watcher was a malevolent spirit bound to the mirror, feeding off the fear of those who gazed into it. Emma's nights became plagued with nightmares, visions of shadowy figures lurking just beyond her peripheral vision, whispers that seemed to emanate from the walls, and the ever-present feeling of being watched. The mirror's reflection began to show things that weren't there. Fleeting images of unfamiliar rooms, faces twisted in agony, and scenes of desolation. Seeking help, Emma reached out to a local historian specializing in the occult. Dr. Alan Graves listened intently as Emma recounted her experiences. He explained that mirrors have long been considered portals to other realms, and that certain rituals could bind spirits to them. He warned her that breaking the mirror could release the Watcher into the physical world, causing untold chaos. Dr. Graves proposed a cleansing ritual to sever the connection between the mirror and the Watcher. The ritual required specific herbs, symbols drawn in chalk, and a recitation of an ancient incantation at midnight. Emma prepared meticulously, determined to rid her home of the malevolent presence. As the clock struck midnight, Emma began the ritual. The air grew thick, the temperature dropped, and the whispers intensified. Shadows danced along the walls as the mirror's surface began to ripple like water. Emma's voice trembled as she recited the incantation, each word feeling like a battle against an unseen force. Suddenly, the mirror cracked, a web of fractures spreading across its surface. A deafening scream filled the room, and a gust of wind extinguished the candles. Silence followed. Emma collapsed to the floor, exhausted but relieved. The oppressive atmosphere lifted, and the house felt lighter. She believed the ritual had worked. However, as dawn approached, Emma noticed something unsettling. Her reflection in the cracked mirror didn't mimic her movements. It stared back with a sinister grin, mouthing words she couldn't hear. The Watcher wasn't banished. It was free.